invincibility is a term thrown around with a lot of characters, whether it be someone as famous as Superman or Godzilla, or something as new as Gojo and his Infinity. Two pretty recent characters that embody this trait in their own verse is Homelander, the quote-unquote superhero and leader of the Seven, and the Death Angels from A Quiet Place, the sensitively sounded triggered monsters who took over the planet. But what happens if you take Invincible and put him against Invincible? Who would win this fight to the death? So some basic rules. The monsters will be automatically triggered at Homelander, and it's not like Homelander wouldn't trigger them anyways. I don't think he would be aware of how they are triggered at a first glance anyways. And the fights will take place in even grounded, flat areas. So things like Death Angels getting stuck underwater doesn't apply, and Homelander would have free movement as well. So he'd be able to go as fast as he wants. And also not have any civilians sort of keep up his public image or whatever excuse you want to coin it. And this is Homelander from the TV show, not from the comics. And this is essentially a Death Angel that has the combined scaling of the others, because there's several that do different things, and there's often times where one Death Angel will do a way more impressive thing than the other. So, for simplicity's sake, we'll just use a combined Death Angel. If you want to maybe give a headcanon that the big one we saw in the new movie is the strongest, you can just think of it like that, maybe. So, starting off with Homelander, he is the strongest. Sorry, Gojo. You'll come on the channel eventually. He obviously upscales any other feat in the verse. And this... And while that would essentially include things like Soldier Boy's Blast, which you can argue can kill him, he should upscale the raw AP of it, ignoring the hack side of how it can negate people's powers. And Homelander does have a nice durability feat of the power plant explosion from the animated show, which at least this episode is canon to the main series. And this is calced at around multi-city block level, so he's at least city block. And, however, there is statements that he can tank anything humans currently have, and he also claims that he can wipe New York off the map. However, I wouldn't completely take these statements as valid, as who is hitting this man with, like, nukes? Obviously Vought doesn't have nukes in their arsenal. They can barely get a fucking bill passed without having to gaslight the entire fucking country. It's not like the military is fucking locking Homelander up and shooting him with every weapon. And considering the context, it's most likely just gaslighting. Same thing with Homelander, he's just trying to invoke fear into Starlight in this scene, while the woman I can't be bothered to get the name of is just trying to invoke fear in Butcher. So I just more say he's multi-city block. I think the city level is really questionable to be taken as outright valid, considering how much of this show, especially in these scenes, is just trying to fucking gaslight people. However, speed-wise, it's a lot more concrete. Even as a child, he broke. He is supersonic. However, his two best seed feats are the evasion of the bomb in Season 1 final, and he claims he can fly into space. And if he is actually flying into space, which should be consistent with the bomb feat, he would be around hypersonic to high hypersonic, as going into space requires either between 17,600 miles per hour up to 25,000 miles per hour, which is hypersonic to high hypersonic. And he also can outspeed the bomb Butcher had on his chest, and it seems to do it pretty casually too, so hypersonic to high hypersonic is pretty consistent. And unlike in the previous scenes, it doesn't seem like Homelander is lying, and has no reason to lie yet. Homelander doesn't really have any OP, super powerful hacks. He has his lasers, which aren't Darrenegg or anything, and he does not show any supersonic screams unlike what death metal makes you think. At least in the show, in the comics, he has it. He's somewhat intelligent. He can somewhat hide his crimes, though this is mostly due to Vought, who, even when the Breaking Bad guy, the Edgar, leaves, he calls out Homelander and thinks that he would never actually be able to cover up the shit he's done and thinks he will get outed very, very soon. And he's also very emotionally vulnerable, which is a pretty big weakness. Now to the less skilled person, I guess. Their strength and speed is nothing too notable. They can destroy cars, which is wall the small building, and they can tear through metal walls like paper consistently, and even metal bunker doors, which is around the same range. And they can just blitz humans a lot, so that's subsonic. Now, from here, you may be asking, this is just a stomp, right? Well, now we get into the good shit. For durability baseline, while their fleshy insides are weak, they wouldn't really need to expose it to Homelander since they are already triggered Homelander, and I don't think Homelander is going to stop and stay silent for a moment. He's going to be pretty fucking loud. Even when flying in, that's going to create a lot of noise. And just moving, because Homelander doesn't know about the creature's super fucking hearing. And it's, at the very least, it's noted how no bomb, weapon, or anything of that nature, anything the military has, can destroy the creatures. And this is a lot more concrete of a statement than fucking gaslighting. And considering how the meteor that they tank landing and are completely fine from is compared to a nuclear bomb by the characters in the film and by the newspapers, they're already city level in durability. But they have higher. The Death Angels were stated by the director that they came from their planet exploding in their face and they survived it. And this is consistent and it's not like that's the author or anything, because we know the meteors that are in the film are referenced as essentially the remnants of the planet. So even by the film, it's consistent. Outright planetary, which is really funny. Their durability is planetary. Well, obviously durability doesn't scale to AP. And in this case, they don't really fight anything on their level. So their durability is just massively above Homelander's own AP and durability. However, Homelander is much stronger, and the Death Angels can't harm Homelander. However, they also have something for hacks and abilities. They have a pretty good form of adaptation evolution. The director outright calls them the perfect evolutionary machine, and they essentially adapted and evolved to gain their planetary level armor, so they can adapt to at least a planetary scale, or to endure planetary attacks, which logically they could probably adapt to strength or attack potency, at least capping at that level too. But Viper, they're weak to sound, I hear you say. They're weak to sound because their home planet, they specifically adapted because they had no light, so they had no reason to see. So they just got echolocation. However, now that their weakness is starting to be exploited, they're already adapting. The first time the specific frequency is used against them, they essentially have a seizure and fall on their ass. However, they start to resist it to where they can just walk through it and still go after them with less and less struggle, even to the point where one takes a gunshot in their fleshy part, and after the gunshot in their fleshy part, and then with the aggravating sound, they're still walking right through it and about to kill them if they didn't get off-guarded by another shot to the head. So they're already adapting with this really good evolution adaptation. They also seem to have some mental effect on a person, making someone commit suicide, and also being called a specific combination to be like the most terrifying thing ever. So how will this matchup essentially play out? Well, Homelander is just much stronger and faster. The Death Angels are and the Death Angels can't harm them. However, Homelander can't harm the Death Angels either, to the point where if Homelander probably tried to punch their armor, he'd break his hand or something. He'd probably hurt himself trying to break through their armor. And he doesn't have a specific frequency to make them weak and make them vulnerable to open their heads. You can make loud noises, but loud noises on their own don't seem to weaken it, just the specific frequency we see in the film. And considering all the other times that loud noises, if not louder noises in their frequency, don't impose that same reaction, this is consistent. So we have a at max city level character, AP and durability, versus someone's durability who can casually tank a planet. Their durability is essentially the equivalent of taking an amped Shin Godzilla versus a low-ball base monster versus Godzilla. So is it just an endless stalemate, considering none have shown a limit stamina-wise? We haven't seen either get really tired, and they can fight for extended periods of time without showing any forms of tiredness and casually as well. Although Angel's Hack's Mania would likely just adapt until it could kill Homelander, it could adapt pretty quickly. And considering it adapted within the two separate encounters, ended the encounter, started that day, and then literally the next time, which was only a short trip, they already had started to adapt to it. And then even later on, they adapt to do it even more. This adaptation is decently quick, and it's not like Homelander could do anything about it to stop it, or kill the Death Angel. The mental hacks would probably also affect Homelander to an unknown degree, considering how unstable he is emotionally, and we know he can feel fear, with people that are way less durable than the Death Angels. And he just did not take it well. Like, he kind of became a bitch. So overall, I would say the Death Angels would just eventually outlast and adapt to Homelander, who could do nothing about it pretty much. Especially in character, he'd probably be fed up and either have an emotional breakdown or just get so mad and try to pummel the thing.